Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe are enormous, complex settlements that date back to between 10 and 12,000 years ago. There was clear social organisation. People had well-developed and varied skills, and for this reason, many find it hard to believe that they hunted and gathered their food.
Looks like a colossal maze etched into the earth, dozens of massive V-shaped stone lines, stretching hundreds of meters and converging toward mysterious circular pits. For years, archaeologists believed they were simply ancient hunting traps, places where the Andean people herded animals to their doom. But everything changed in 2024, when satellite imagery and geomagnetic maps were released. It was revealed that there are 76 V-shaped structures evenly distributed at altitudes over 2,700 meters, all with the same design, the same north-south orientation, the same unbelievable scale. And what stunned researchers even more among these traps, they discovered over 800 small settlements, traces of fires, stone tools, and even pre-Inca pottery shards. If the carbon dating results are correct, then these structures have endured for 8,000 years, from the early hunting era right up to the 18th century, when the Spanish first set foot on this land. What compelled the same technology to be maintained across millennia, and why? At such harsh elevations, would people invest enormous labor to build hundreds of stone walls, hundreds of meters long? When a few small snares would suffice for hunting? The answer, perhaps, lies in a new hypothesis, one that's captivating and highly controversial. That these stone walls weren't just for hunting animals. They might have been resonance machines, where ancient humans unwittingly harnessed the Earth's energy thousands of years ago. The Andean inhabitants lived in a harsh world, the arid Atacama Desert, sheer mountain ranges, ceaseless cold winds. At altitudes over 2,700 meters, oxygen is thin, water scarce, and all life depended on a profound understanding of nature. In those conditions, the Chacus, the V-shaped stone traps, were not just practical inventions, but evidence of an unspoken knowledge. Humans knew how to read the wind's direction, how to let stone and terrain guide the animal's path. Surveys at the Universidad de Tarapacá show that most Chacus were built on the edges of steep slopes or mountain gorges, where winds concentrate most fiercely. As herds of guanaco migrated, the wind whistling through the stone crevices created a steady, low hum, panicking the animals and driving them straight into the pit traps. But to the ancient Andeans, this phenomenon wasn't merely a natural effect, it was the aid of the wind spirits, which they believed connected the human world to the deities of earth and air. Within those enclosed stone circles, hunting was more than survival. It was ritual where the entire community merged into a single rhythm. It is believed that as dozens of hunters moved in sync along the stone walls, their shouts and footsteps resonated with the wind, forming a chorus of life, a moment when humans, earth, and animals became one. From the perspective of modern science, it was survival skill, but from a mystical viewpoint, it was a primal communion between humans and planetary energy. And when researchers realized the Chacus structures matched eerily with the desert kites in the Middle East, halfway around the world, a new question arose. Could this be an ancient geometric language that multiple civilizations understood and used to hunt, to survive, or to connect with something greater than themselves? In 2024, the archaeological world was shaken when the research team from the Universidad de Tarapacá, Chile, and CNRS France announced an unprecedented find: massive V-shaped stone structures scattered across the Camarones Desert, at altitudes over 2,700 meters. From satellites, they appear as gigantic stone arrows all aligned along the same north-south axis with terrifying precision. Each chacu consists of two stone walls nearly 150 meters long, leading straight into a circular pit 2 meters deep, where herds of guanaco and vicuña were once driven to their death. But when 3D LiDAR data and ground-penetrating radar GPR were released, a new mystery emerged beneath the stone layers. Scientists discovered overlapping construction phases, proving the chacus weren't built once, but repaired and used continuously for thousands of years. Carbon-14 dating from ash and animal bones yielded a shocking number 6,000 BCE, meaning when Egypt had yet to build its pyramids. The Andeans were erecting these massive stone machines in the wilderness. And the strangest part, the chacus were still in use until the 18th century, spanning 8 millennia, one of the longest traditions on the planet. As the archaeological team expanded their survey, They found over 800 small settlements around the trap's traces of hearths, stone tools, pottery shards, even circular house foundations. This showed that these people didn't just hunt here, they lived, worshipped, and survived around the stone traps themselves. The echo of the discovery spread globally. Reports described the Chacus as built precisely where the strongest winds in the Camerones region converge in natural mountain gorges that can produce infrasound of 15 to 20 Hz as wind rushes through the stone walls. That frequency is beyond human hearing, but it can terrify animals and direct them in specific ways. Scientists call this phenomenon Aeolian resonance wind resonance on stone, but to the ancient Andeans, it might have been the voice of the wind gods, a sound they used to guide herds and their own rituals. Amid the measurements of the structures, another find made everything even more unbelievable. The opening angle of the Chacus in Chile, 35 degrees, matches almost perfectly with the desert kites in Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and the Gobi. 3 civilizations, 3 continents, halfway around the Earth, yet using the same geometry. The scientific community is fiercely divided. One side argues it's parallel evolution, humans everywhere devised similar ways to hunt. But the other insists this is evidence of an ancient global knowledge, spread across tens of thousands of years. When geomagnetic maps were released, the third shock hit. Some of the Chacus align with zones of weak magnetic anomalies where geoacoustic waves and seismic interference are stronger than normal. Not a few believe these structures were placed there intentionally, as if the ancients could sense magnetic fields with their bodies, something modern science is only beginning to measure from satellites. The Camerones region appears as a labyrinth carved straight into the desert, 76 V-shapes, all pointing southeast toward the winter sunrise. 2 stone walls, hundreds of meters long, converge into a deep circular pit. The angles, proportions, orientations all identical, as if drawn by a single hand. When this map is placed beside photos of desert kites in Jordan and Saudi Arabia, the lines match almost perfectly. 2 continents halfway around the Earth. 2 cultures with no trade, but the same design. It can't be coincidence. Subsequent 3D measurements confirmed between the wall lengths and pit diameters. There's always a 3:1 ratio, a number precise to an uncanny degree. Archaeologists call this parallel evolution, but gradually, the term feels too weak. A few research groups have begun mentioning ancient global design, the notion that humanity once shared a common geometric template, passed down through millennia without contact. Geomagnetic measurements at Camerones show most Chacus sit right on the edge of the South Atlantic anomaly, where geoacoustic waves amplify strongly and the magnetic field is weaker than normal. In the Middle East, desert kites lie near similar magnetic structures, 2 poles of the globe, the same physical phenomenon. Data from the 2023 Atacama Geoacoustic Survey reveals that when wind funnels through the stone walls, the entire structure vibrates, producing infrasound below the hearing threshold. That vibration could panic animals and drive them in predetermined directions. But for the Andeans, that sound was ritual, in their beliefs. The deep rumble was the breath of Pachamama, the sound of Mother Earth responding to humans. From geometry, to geomagnetism, to acoustics, everything seems to operate by the same rules. What were seen as stone traps might once have been resonance machines where wind, stone, and human consciousness merged into a primal energy system. As twilight sweeps across Camerones, the shadows of the stone walls stretch long across the ground, intertwining like hidden veins of the planet. The wind rises. The desert emits a low rumble like a distant heartbeat. Amid that wind, one can sense a question hanging in the air. Were they not hunting animals, but frequencies? The first measurements at Camerones were conducted in absolute silence. As geoacoustic sensors were placed against the stone walls, the ground began to tremble faintly. An infrasonic wave spread out, inaudible, detectable only by instruments. The frequency so low no human ear could perceive it, but enough to make the sand on the surface ripple like water. Data showed wind waves traveling along the 2 arms of the V-shaped walls, colliding at the convergence point and reflecting back into the air. The interference created resonance zones, natural sound pockets, right above the circular pits. When the wind shifted, the sound vanished. When it hit the right angle, the entire valley seemed to breathe in steady rhythm. Seismic analysis indicated these structures weren't placed randomly. Each Chacu lies in a geological band with similar porosity and rock density. Maximizing sound amplification. The V-shape isn't just a herding tool, but an optimal resonance structure for airflow and pressure. In modern physics, this principle resembles an amplifying speaker. Simulation experiments at the Universidad de Tarapacá confirmed when wind blew through a 110 scale model of the stone walls, infrasound appeared in the same band as field measurements. The match showed this is a repeatable physical phenomenon, not a product of imagination. Another strange thing emerged when comparing data from the Middle East. The desert kites in Wadi Rum produce the same type of infrasound, despite entirely different environments and materials. This raises the question, why did civilizations separated by thousands of light years build structures with the same effect coincidence or shared knowledge? At Camarones, most chacus face into the strongest wind channels on the Andean slopes, almost as if calculated in advance. At the center points, soil temperatures are higher than surroundings, indicating prolonged heat accumulation. Some stone samples even bear oxidation marks from friction or resonant heat. These small details blur the line between hunting structure and energy device. When combining acoustic data with geomagnetic maps, researchers noticed the strongest sound emission points coincide with magnetic field distortions. Wind, stone, and magnetism form a natural triangle, a kind of geological battery operating in cycles. There's no evidence of ancient technology, but clearly, the chacus are more than walls and pits. They are large-scale resonators, where ancient humans unwittingly or deliberately harnessed the laws of sound and strata. If hunting was just one function, then the chacus are evidence of something deeper. Humanity's ability to turn nature into a tool, not with metal, not with electricity, only with stone, wind, and terrain. When all the data is pieced together, a different image of the Andes begins to emerge. The chacus and Camarones don't exist in isolation. From north to south, dozens of similar clusters stretch along the mountain flanks, linking into a regular chain like a colossal ancient circuit running the length of the Atacama Desert. Infrared satellite imagery shows areas with chacus have distinct thermal and magnetic fluctuations compared to the background. In some places, the stone wall lines seem to connect with underground streams or geological faults. When overlaid on stratigraphic maps, these connections form a grid-like network, similar to the ley line structures in mystical theories about Earth energy lines. Each chacus sits precisely at an intersection of underground water veins, wind, and magnetic fields elements ancient civilizations once deemed sacred. Andean scholars have found ritual traces near many circular pits charcoal, stones painted with spirals, pottery shards etched with animal figures. This evidence shows the chacus weren't just for hunting, but for activating or attuning to nature in ways hard to explain today. A 2024 geoacoustic experiment in the Atacama detected the lowest frequencies from the Camarones chacus propagating kilometers away, reflecting between rock faces like a signal chain. The hypothesis, if each chacus sounded at the same time, the entire Andean range could become a massive resonance network, where earth waves moved like humanity's primal signals. Similar measurements in Jordan and Mongolia yielded near-identical results. Though no evidence of cultural exchange, these structures share the same geometric pattern and resonance principles. The ancient global design hypothesis is mentioned again. Perhaps humans once knew how to sense natural energy and replicated the model wherever they went. Surveys from the Chilean Geomagnetic Institute also noted another coincidence in intact chacus. Magnetic field variations are lower than in surrounding areas, suggesting the stone walls could stabilize local fields, a natural equilibrium that modern engineering is still trying to recreate. The scientific community is split. One side sees this as physical coincidence wind, geology, sound meeting by chance. The other believes an ancient knowledge once existed, based on profound understanding of Earth's energy, though nothing can be affirmed yet. The geometry of the chacus challenges all modern perceptions. Why would primitive hunters build such a precise network and maintain it for nearly 8,000 years? If temples are where humans spoke to gods, then chacus might be where they spoke to the planet itself. The final surveys at Camarones ended on a dry, windy afternoon. As the technical team pulled geomagnetic sensors from the circular pits, the screen still showed small oscillations, continuous waves, not matching the wind, not aligning with earthquakes, a kind of background vibration. Steady, like an echo lingering from the depths of the earth. No one knows when it began. It could be wind residue, or something deeper. Whatever the cause. One thing is clear, the Camarones region has never been truly silent. The chacus scattered along the Andes, buried, eroded, but still holding their original form, after thousands of years. They stand there, steadfast amid sand and stone, as if guarding a secret unwilling to be revealed. In the circular pits, archaeologists found dark charcoal layers, ancient burn marks, and human footprints etched in the soil. The last traces of rituals vanished with the language of those who performed them. If the Chacus were once hunting structures, they fulfilled their mission. But if they were something else, a resonance network, a tool for communicating with Earth, then that mission might still be ongoing. The infrasound signals and magnetic oscillations recorded by today's devices are just the surface of a system still operating in silence. The ancient global design hypothesis is no longer a joke. Data from Atacama, Jordan, Gobi, and Sahara are gradually aligning same geometry, same orientations, same frequencies. Wherever there's a desert, there are V-shaped stone lines, all pointing toward the winter sun. In the modern context, as humans exploit Earth again with technology and energy, the Chacus become a strange reflection. They prove our ancestors knew how to harness planetary energy without destroying it. Perhaps, by understanding strata and wind, they found a way to harmonize rather than conquer. The Camerones Desert is no longer a dead land. It is the keeper of Earth's oldest recording, not in writing, but in frequencies. A signal sent thousands of years ago, waiting only for those patient enough to listen. And as the final winds blow through the stone walls, emitting a low rumble that spreads far across the valley, the ultimate question echoes like an aftershock in the air. Had they known how to speak to the Earth, and have we forgotten?